Hi, welcome to Fearless and Flawed. I'm Serena. I'm the owner of Conceptive, marketing and design company, and this is my friend.
This is Sarah. Obviously, I don't know my cue for when to introduce myself. I am a small business consultant, and we are delighted today on the podcast to have my friend and my fellow entrepreneur, Jackie Cohen. She is the owner of Jack and Jewelz. And just to give a little blurb about Jack and Jewelz, it is a jewelry line that offers lead and nickel-free jewelry for young girls, teens, and adults. And Jackie's inspiration stems from her beautiful daughter, which we will learn more about.
So thank you so much for having me on. I feel honored that you asked. So I have always had a love and passion for jewelry. And after college, I was a finance major. I moved to New York City to go to school for gemology because I wanted to get into the diamond business and the jewelry business. So I went to school for gemology, and I was working for 20 years in the diamond district in New York City as a gemologist and a private jeweler for diamonds and colored stones, emeralds, rubies, sapphires, pearls. And I sold very bespoke high-end jewelry. I would do wedding bands, engagement rings, all that stuff. And I'd always get these calls from clients of mine, and they said, "Hey, Jackie, my daughter's ears got infected. I need something for her, but I don't want to spend a fortune because I sell diamond jewelry." So I get these calls all the time. And so sometimes they would make their kids little, diamond earrings or whatever. And then over COVID, my daughter wanted to design jewelry. So we started doing that. We got ordered pearls, beads and all this stuff from Amazon for her to make and, to keep her busy, during lockdown. And then it kind of was like a aha moment that I was like, you know what? We need to do this, this hypoallergenic jewelry thing because no one's doing it. And I researched it. So, and also at the same time, my daughter was 8 at the time, and she has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. So what happened was she started talking about it. She never really spoke about it. She just had to go through the motions of, we would get these monthly infusions at the hospital every month, and she'd have to get shots, and, it was a lot. So she started talking about it, and she'd say, "Mommy, my friends don't really know what I go through." And so anyway, when I said we'd start this jewelry line, and I told her we would donate to juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and she was just beaming, and it really gave her that voice of what she goes through. And so anyway, we came up with the name over COVID, Jack and Jewelz, right when we were in lockdown. I got the Instagram and I got the email, the internet address. So then we started. And so then how I started this is I sold locally, and I would give my line to stores on consignment. I would do trunk shows, and I found out what sold and what didn't, and I tweaked the line. And then eventually I needed to take it, nationally. So I created a line sheet, and I started selling wholesale to stores all across the country. And that's kind of where I'm at now, building my brand, building the name recognition, and I want Jack and Jewelz to be the trusted source for all kids, that need hypoallergenic earrings, because I always say it's not a want, it's a need. All parents need hypoallergenic earrings because their ears get infected because of, not very good quality, things that they're putting in their bodies, in their ears. So, so that's the story.
Well, in true mom fashion, you're like, "Hey, my daughter wanted to do this. I'll find a way to do it." If that's not the power of a mom, it's like, we're going to do this. I hear this a lot when I talk to other, business owners, entrepreneurs, people, women who have started great things. It's like, what was your reason why? Because my daughter wanted to do something that could give back. That is awesome. And You kind of told us the story in like a minute or two of like going from 0 to 100, and you've made it seem so effortless. But take me back to like the very first month, 2 months, 3 months, where you come up with the name, you get, the Instagram, the social media handles, but we're talking sourcing the product design, pricing. What the heck is a price sheet or a line sheet? So many people are like, what does that even mean? How do you figure out what to do first? And then do you have help? Walk us through the early days.
So what happened was, so I told my friends, what I was doing. And then a girlfriend of mine was like, I want you to talk to my friend. They have stores. So they have a chain of stores. So I actually was so lucky that I aligned with them because I worked closely with the buyers and a line sheet. So the buyer said, I need a line sheet. And I was like, well, what is that? So I looked it up, and I was really lucky that I was in with this store because I was able to test what worked and what didn't. And they were very open to me, selecting the assortments that went to the stores. And I did trunk shows. They were super open to me doing trunk shows at all their different locations in Connecticut, New York City, in the Hamptons. So that was a real gift because I was able to test the market while making sales. So that was great. So that's really how I got my brand off. And then local stores, to be honest, a lot of women gave me the shot. So, women want to help women. And so I was really lucky that, I always say, strong women and confident women help each other out. And those are the kind of people that you want to surround yourself with. Because when you're strong and confident, you're not threatened by other women. You want to empower them. So I was lucky in that case, to start this.
I'm loving that. Totally.
I'm loving it. We're like shaking our head like, yes. Put that in a quote, blast it. That's a sound bite. That's an Instagram.
Yeah.
Like that's an Instagram.
Us. We get it.
That's my tagline. Like, this is great. Tell me, so Jewel, what was her kind of role in this? Was she like the product person? Was she the eye for design? What role did she play, your daughter?
Play? I mean, she has a lot of opinions, and she would say, Mom, I think we should do this, or I think we should do that. Or like, I don't like that, But what I really love about this is that she's my business partner. And I feel like as a mother and a daughter, you want to send your kids off with skills. So for me, I'm teaching her how to be an entrepreneur. And she comes to trunk shows with me. I took her to a trade show this summer and she blew me away. So, I mean, that's really like the beauty and goal behind this, is to really empower her and hopefully build this company so she's going to have something to step into, Well, she's already in it. I mean, she's not going to step into it in 10 years, but that's like I really do see a vision that so also good businesses are not born because someone just wanted to do something. There needs to be a need. You have to fill a void. And so I really do believe that, there isn't a go-to source. And I talk to parents all the time, and I'm constantly picking people's brains. Like, oh, if you had to get your daughter a gift for her graduation, what'd you get? I'll say, like, how much did you spend? Where'd you go? And a lot of times they're like, you're right. There's nothing out there like this. So I was doing a trunk show in New York City, and this mother came up to me and she said, your line is brilliant, because when you want to get something, a nice gift for a child, you go into a jewelry store and you try to just get the cheapest thing there. So, and I actually did the same thing for my niece. When it was her, I think first communion, I was in Connecticut and I was like, shoot, I need like a silver cross, because I didn't have time to make it. We're always last minute. So I literally went into a jewelry store and bought the cheapest thing there and still paid too much, So I was like, I was that person. So now I have crosses because people need crosses for first communion and baptism and all that stuff. So yeah, there's not a real trusted go-to source out there. Well, now there is Jack and Jewelz. But I'm just trying to get, the brand awareness, so people know, because, when they buy it, parents will buy it again and again. It's great. It's a great price for gifts. And, also the key in the beginning was I knew I wanted the box to be just as special as what's inside of it. So the packaging to me was super, super important, because you want like my little purple box. It's just an elevated gift. It's like, wow. I felt like there was, I don't know if I can say names, but there was like a very cheap store that's in every mall. And then there's a very expensive line that comes in a blue box. And there's nothing really in between, like a go-to. So that was how this line was born.
We're all going to Google the blue box jewelry line, by the way. We're all going to be like, who is she talking about? We're going to Google it.
Oh, I'm going to guess if it's that pricey.
Oh, well, is it, I mean, I'm hearing blue. You can leave.
I can only think of one blue.
Right. Yeah. As parents, and even for dads never know what to get their daughters. So, I mean, like a little pendant from here is like, it's like a no-brainer. These retail for like $50, like no-brainer. So
as a mum, anyway, I have done that. I have gone out and I have bought jewelry and flowers for my daughter as a boost for her, for something, whether it's her birthday or whether she's done something good. It's jewelry and flowers. I treat her like a little adult. She is now an adult, and it's lovely.
And that's sweet. And they love getting something special, right? It makes them feel special, gives them confidence, something to take care of, because it's nice to teach them to take care of your nice things when they're young. And if they lose it, it's not the end of the world. That's the great thing also about my line, is that it's not very expensive. Like a mother will call me and she'll say, I need another pair of those earrings. My daughter lost it. She's freaking out. She's so upset. It's like, I got it. Like, I need it. It's great. So, and it's not, you're not going to get mad at your kids for losing it, because it's not that expensive, but it's good quality. So, and that's the important thing.
Right. Go on.
I was going to ask about the nickel and lead-free side of things. So, to me, that would be for earrings, pierced ears, and stuff like that. Is there other advantages to these free methods?
There is. And so the great thing is all my pendants and bracelets are extendable. So they all have like a 2-inch extender, so they can grow with them. And so they could clip it shorter or longer. And then the beauty, I always say the sleeper stellar is, it's great for all ages. So, moms buy it for their friends, a little smiley pendant, a pick-me-up, for all ages. It's a great gift.
I realize the value of nickel and lead free, because you don't realize kind of what that means until you get, like, I had a ring that my skin, it almost like a little rash. That's like what happens, right? It kind of becomes like irritated. And especially, is it more common in young skin, like young developing skin, or is it just common across the board, that irritation?
It's common across the board. Yeah. I mean, it happens to adults too, but you maybe don't hear as much from adults because they've already solved the problem. They know what works and what doesn't, and they were higher quality, products, and But for kids, a lot of times parents don't want to spend a lot because they're like, oh, she's gonna lose them. I don't want to spend a lot. So, and then they try, and then they're faced with a problem. And even my sales reps, I was in Las Vegas, and my sales team there was, she told me my daughter had to get her ears pierced 3 times. We had to close them up, re-pierce them. Everyone has these stories. I say every mother has these war stories. And then also my line is great for gift giving and for grandparents, because grandparents always want to buy their grandkids really nice gifts, something they buy a bunch of it, multiples. And they love the line. And then for birthday gifts, It's great. What I would hear, so my first line was my Madison collection, the ones here in the purple boxes. That was my first line. And then my second line, because I would hear from clients, they'd say, "Hey, Jackie, I love your stuff, but I don't really want to spend $40, $50 for birthday gifts." They wanted to spend like 20 or 30. So I created the Smiley collection, which is, it's the same quality. It just doesn't have the cubic zirconias in the jewelry. So then I created a lower price point. Yeah. And I always say, like, you have to listen to your customer, what they want. And, they'll tell you. And sales show, what works and what doesn't. So then that's how I came up with the second line, which is doing really well.
Oh, tell me, like, because you and I have spoken a lot even before this podcast, and I always feel like you just exude this confidence. You're a go-getter. You get it done, right? But you get it done because there's always a series of it's a trial and error process. Like, hey, this didn't work out. What's next? So in your journey, just walk us through some of those things that didn't work out. What didn't work out? How did you handle it? What was a risk you took that you thought would work that didn't work? And more so, how did you get over that hump? Because it's so easy to be defeated, especially in the beginning, because you're like, is this working? Is this not working? Walk us through some of those examples of, like, I tried this didn't work, or this was a risk that paid off or didn't.
So I think, first, in general, with business, you can't have an ego. If you're going to be successful, you have to just accept, like, defeat. Sometimes, like, that didn't work. Or, like, sometimes I would do a trunk show and, like, no one walks in the door, and you're like, oh God, but you leave, and then you go to the next one, and then it's, it's loaded with people. So it's like, you have to ride it's like surfing a wave, some waves are great, some days are good, some days aren't, some days you have waves, some days you don't. But I think, with business, you kind of just have to, feel the market. For instance, over COVID, this was kind of like a pivot move too, because people weren't going out. They weren't buying expensive jewelry. I would sell, really important necklaces for people that were having weddings or for their children. They're having like big parties for their kids, and they bat mitzvahs. I would sell, major necklaces and bracelets. Those parties weren't happening. So I had to pivot. And so, less expensive items I'm selling. And then I've learned that with kids, people are always having kids. It's non-cyclical. It doesn't matter how bad the market is. They still need, gifts for their kids and hypoallergenic earrings. So that's also super important when, in business, I think, is learning, what's going to, the test of time. So, and then did I answer the question or you said problems?
Obstacles, challenges, listen, you take it wherever you want to take it, but it's yeah. I think the from the outside, I think so often we see people's successes, and those are the things we highlight naturally, right? Like, you're not going to lead off in a business meeting with, like, here's what didn't work, and here are the nights that I was really defeated. You're going to be like, this is what's working, and that's great. I think you have to wear that mask because you have to be your own best friend and your own best believer. But, like, I also think there's that other side, especially from a woman's lens, that we bring to the table, for better or for worse, sometimes with multitasking or certain expectations we have or certain emotions we might bring to the table that can sometimes lead us into defeat, or sometimes can cause moments where we realize things are not working. And so you touched on it, but I always like to hear, like, we always figure it out ultimately because that's what we do, right? But what, if there was anything else that you're like, hey, like, maybe even distribution. I know for myself, when I was looking for people to distribute it, retailers, sales reps, it was a lot of trial and error.
Yes. It's a lot of trial and error. And I think, you hire people and you have to do your homework, because if you're, I've learned, like, when you pay someone to do something, you have to have it, like, in a contract, have goals, And if they don't want to be accountable for certain goals and contracts, then you shouldn't sign that. You shouldn't hire those people. If they don't want to put the goals in writing. I think, I've had some work relationships I had to end because they didn't do what they said they were going to do. And, I think, that's it. I think, if people say they're going to do something and they don't, you have to get rid of them because you can't work with people that you can't trust, that aren't going to be accountable, hey, here's the thing also, I think with women and confident people, we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Stuff happens all the time. But if you are accountable, that's one thing. But if you're not accountable, then, you have to peace off. So, yes, I've had to end relationships, and with sales reps, some people get your brand and some people don't. Some people get jewelry, some people don't. I think having, someone that has a passion for your line is very important because they can sell it. When they know there's a need, they can sell it. But if they don't get it, there's not 100 of me around that can sell this all over the country or globally. So you have to find people, you can't do everything. Also, I think in business, you have to farm some things out. Like it's not possible. You can't do everything. But I do think as a business owner, and you know this, if you want something done right, you kind of need to do it yourself. So it's hard. It's a juggle, It's
I feel like Serena, that's exactly who you are. Serena's like, she likes things done a certain way because she's good at what she does. So, but then you also know you need to delegate. I'm the same way, but it's where do you delegate? Like I know I have to do this, but I don't want it a certain way. But I also know there can't be two of me. Like when you say that, I'm just thinking about like when you create greatness. And again, I have a long working relationship with Serena. I can't replicate her. When we worked together, I couldn't replicate Serena. So I was like, I need you to like be on every call because you are the vision.
And that's something I'm trying to get away from in my own business is it's not being the pinnacle of everything. And it's tough. It's not always as straightforward. And it's really empowering to hear that other people have these problems and find solutions for it. And it's okay to let go occasionally, isn't it? It's okay for your sales rep not to get your product and for you to find another sales rep. It's fine.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And something I know you've done really well, Jackie, which you, especially being new to like wholesale, you mentioned trade shows, sales reps. Those are all things to get into like retail and to get your brand out there. You mentioned something really pivotal, which is like knowing when to cut the cord and doing it sooner rather than later. Because that idea that I think sometimes it's like, well, I'll give you another try. Oh, you didn't really understand. Let's extend it out another 3 to 6 months. But what I'm hearing is you just ultimately then just start to get resentful and angry because you knew it wasn't, it's like dating. You know, by the second date, if it's really going to go anywhere, but you're like, oh, they were nice enough. And then by the fourth date, you're like, this is a total waste of my time. You're annoyed at yourself for not going with your gut or your gut instinct. So how much of your business does instinct and gut play? How much of a role does that inner feeling play in your decision-making?
Oh, I think it's everything. I think I keep going back to like being a woman because I think as a woman, you really have to trust your gut and stay true to who you are and your brand and not listen to other people and to tell you what you should be doing. I mean, hey, look, it's important to listen to smart people and to know when to take their advice and when it's good advice and solid and when it's not. I've had men tell me, like, I remember he told me, like, mushrooms are really hot. Like, you should have, like, a mushroom, jewelry case. And I'm like, okay, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
He told you this? Wait, who said this? Like, you don't have to say names, but like a colleague, a business associate?
A sales rep that wanted to like help me create my line.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, you should do mushrooms. Yeah. And I'm like,
hello.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, What?
What you said at the beginning is you have to stay true to your brand. That's what it is.
If I would have listened to him and done that, I mean, that's not who I am. So, that's not what I'm trying to sell. I'm not trying to sell mushrooms. You know what I mean?
I kind of see it now. Like low key, I kind of want to see Jack and Jewelz mushroom limited edition. Like, and I'm going to buy the whole stock just to say I did.
It was just so like random and like, he wanted me like not to sell my smiley boxes and these cute crown boxes. But that was his take. I'm like, okay, well, that's not the market I'm serving right now. So, okay. But, I just think in general, you have to stay true to yourself and what you think customers will want, and also I think your brand needs to represent like yourself, and like not hear the noise, because there's always going to be noise of what people think you should be doing, or what you should be. So I think that's important. And I think a lot of times, like men, people, like, no one would go up to a man and say like, no, you need to be doing this, but a woman, they think they can tell us what to do sometimes. So I think it's important to surround yourself with like, again, I say like confident and smart people, because confident and smart people give you good advice, good sound advice, and they respect your intellect, and that's important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then you started this during COVID, right? And then you're going to trade shows. Where are we at with Jack? Like, I'm hearing all this. I'm like, okay, she's like scaling, she's doing it. What is all this work? Where has it taken the company, whether it's number of stores, whether it's, channels that you're selling on? Where has all this work, blossomed?
Like, is it really happening? Is it happening? Every day we're like, you never know what tomorrow brings. Well, even like as an entrepreneur, you speak to other entrepreneurs, and it's very natural that you have like, freak out now and then. It's like, summer can be like slow, but there's trade shows going on, and then you're like, It's funny, around September, I've been working, for 20 something years, and every September comes around and it's like go back to school, and I think like, what am I doing? Okay, it's a new year, I need to revamp and do this and do that. Like, is what I'm doing working, and so it's like reassessing. So, when I feel that like freak out, then, and then it's like, just keep the course, because it's working. No, even yesterday I was like, I don't know if this is working. And then I got orders that came through, like from a trade show, because the orders usually come in a little bit after a trade show. So then I was thinking, that trade show, it was like whatever it was, but yeah, I got orders. So, you just have to like stay calm and stay the course.
I think that's from talking to other female entrepreneurs, I think that is very much a woman thing where like, again, just like differences in like, oh, am I doing this right? Oh, I'm not really sure if this is working. Even if the numbers are going up and it's definitely working, there's always a little bit of where I want to be. And I don't want to overhype myself versus I've heard from more male entrepreneurs, it's more of like, oh, I'm going to get there because I'm showing up and I'm doing it. So there's zero doubt. I'm going to sell you the dream. And I'm going to talk dream versus I think as women, sometimes we undersell ourselves, to be quite honest. I'm not really sure if it's working. I've seen you at trade shows. You're out there. You have reps, right? But like, I'm not sure if it's working. I wonder if that's something that while it always fuels us to keep going, because there's always that little bit of doubt. There's always that little bit of like, am I doing this right? Oh, I got to improve. Does that fuel you? Does that encourage you to always kind of be better, or does that cripple you in terms of like,
it fuels me to do better. And I think I've talked to a lot of very smart people, entrepreneurs. And, if you don't have that doubt, then you're probably doing something wrong, because having the doubt and is this working? When you have your own money invested and, you make every dollar count and go far, you make, what is it? how to make $1 out of 15 cents. Like, that's what you do as an entrepreneur. And I think sometimes when people get all this like funding and they're spending, then, it's spending on like stuff that, I actually have a friend of mine that has a company, and she's very smart, and she hired this guy to be like a manager or something like that. And he like paid to wrap a car in a rental car. No, he paid like $15,000 for some rental car or something. And she was like saw the bills, and she's like, you could buy a car for that. Like, that's ridiculous. And she fired him because she was like, he's making bad decisions and throwing money away. He doesn't get it, So, and he was begging for his job, but like, you got to cut the cord when people are, another thing is like, if people are costing you money, not making you money, like it's not a good relationship. It's they should be cash positive on that employee.
Well said. Yeah. Well said, Serena. What's your take on that?
I don't know where to go. I mean, on a wrapped car.
Right, yeah, you're still stuck at the $15,000. Yeah.
I'm just stuck there on the wrapped car.
Advertise. It's a liquor brand, so it was to advertise the liquor.
Yes,
and she started this from nothing, this brand, and she's building it very big. But she hired. She again, she's a mother. She can't do everything. She hired someone, and then she was going through all the numbers. And I also I know a lot of very wealthy people. They know where their money goes. They know what everything costs and what they spend on this, and they'll squeeze you. And I've been in the diamond business for all this time. So all my clients are very, very successful, wealthy people. And I saw they do not spend frivolously. Very smart people don't spend frivolously. And to hold on to their money, it's one thing to make it, but it's another thing to hold on to it, So, and that's also where I think like a lot of businesses kind of fail because they kind of get scale too fast and too big, and, they spend too much. And so I think it's like kind of like a dance, where to invest. And even like with trade shows, I'm juggling, which ones, I can't do them all, I have to choose which ones I think are going to be a higher return than others.
Right. After really getting your feet wet in this, you're out there, you've expanded your line, you're going to these shows. If you could talk to your younger self, you're 2, 3, 4 years ago when you're just starting, there's so many lessons you've learned, but like, what's that one piece of advice that you would be like, okay, just starting off Jackie, she's a little green in this whole industry. What's the one piece of advice you would give her, knowing what you know now?
Well, I should have gone to these trade shows before I did anything. If I wanted to get into the wholesale business, but I didn't. Well, I do have to say they weren't really happening because it was COVID. So they just started getting back into it. So I kind of technically really couldn't do it, but I wished I could have. Like now, yes, 100%. Go to these trade shows because I needed to get rep groups to sell my line and to really scale it. And so I hired this team that, sold me the moon and the stars, and I didn't quite get that, to align me with different sales reps and kind of take my line more nationally and get it into different, chains of stores and this and that. And that, I paid them and they didn't quite deliver on everything they said they were going to. But so, I think now I would have gone to all the trade shows, and not hired them because I didn't really need them. Now I know they told me they needed me. I was told you have to have this person to take your line, to the next level. So I, signed the check and, hired them, which I didn't really get that big of a return on my investment as much as I should have. It was, so I have mixed feelings about that. I would say do your homework. and I would say if you're going to hire someone, say, I want to speak to some of your clients. Like, I should have done that, and I didn't do that. I should have gotten on the phone and said, hey, I want to see, I want to, talk to them. And I didn't do that. But because, people sell you the moon and the stars, and you think you can do it alone.
Right. That happens more often than people think. Everyone kind of has that. They said they could do A, B, and C, and they don't. That's what happens.
And I've heard that a lot too with online marketing. I know a lot of people that have hired people online marketing, and they just don't do anything. They say, oh, I'm going to get you all this following and this and that.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
everyone's selling energy. I mean, it's the old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is not legit. But yet somehow when we understand my pain point, you're going to get me in 1,000 stores overnight. And so it's kind of weeding out the BS, but also kind of using common sense when you really think about it, right? You take a step back and you're like, it's kind of common sense to a degree that if someone's overpromising something too soon in any relationship, they usually fall short a bit, right?
Yes. I used to believe half of what someone says.
Yeah, that's savvy, right? What did they say? Believe half of what you hear and nothing that you see. Whatever the hell that phrase is.
No, I mean, I always think I like to underpromise and overdeliver. Oh, good. Hey, we lost you.
I know. Talk about real here. Complete and drop.
Did it record, or should we?
No, you're still recording.
Oh, good.
We're just keeping it rolling. We were just touching on, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Jackie, let me ask you something. So every podcast, what we do, we like to kind of always keep the ball rolling from, female businesswoman, entrepreneur, powerful female energy. We always like to ask our guests what a question is that we should ask for our next guest. And last week I had interviewed Serena, and Serena had posed the question to you without knowing it was going to be you. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And so where do you see yourself?
Where would you like to see yourself in 10 years?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I hate questions like this because you never know what the future holds. They say when you plan, God laughs. So, I don't know.
As an entrepreneur, we're always striving to craft in our own future. So this is
I know. I mean, I'm hoping in 10 years, this brand is national or global, and that Jack and Jewelz is the go-to trusted source for, all kids hypoallergenic jewelry. When you want to get an elevated gift, I hope we're that instinct that people say, oh, Jack and Jewelz. So that's the goal for 10 years.
Is Jewelz running it? Is Jewel running it?
Yeah, I'm retired.
You're retired. She's running it. Role reversal. She's doing all the work, and they're going, yay, nay, yay.
You can be on the team.
Yes.
No, actually, I love to work, and I've always loved working and the thrill of the deal and making money. I think I'll always be working. My dad, he could be retired and he's going to work till, time's up. Yeah. I think that when you have that spirit, you want to keep busy and keep creating, I think.
Do you think that's one of the reasons why you're an entrepreneur? Just because of that? Because you always want to be striving for something else, something better, something more?
Yeah, I think for greatness, I think it's so fulfilling to make something out of nothing. And I was even taught at a very young age, it's it's important to work for something and feel that sense of accomplishment, because if someone just hands you something, it's life is empty. And it's really, you feel really fulfilled when you've built something and you say, hey, I did this. This is my legacy. I think that's important rather than, just, being a housewife or something. Yeah, it's kind of, I was never, cut from that cloth. Life would be so simple if it had.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would indeed. But then again, to your point too, you'd be unfulfilled because you are a worker bee. Like that, we're all worker bees. It's like that push and pull of like, I have to get stuff done, but then also like, I have to get stuff done. That's just what it is.
Exactly. And I like to be challenged. And I like to be surrounded by really dynamic people. And so all my friends are, they're all entrepreneurs, or like they're like the top at their game, whether they're like attorneys or, doctors, or, I have a lot of really intelligent, smart people that I like to surround myself with, that are all doing really cool, interesting things. It's not like, well, I'll go to dinner with friends and we'll talk about like business and like what's going on in the world, and not like, oh, I bought this handbag. That's not at all what the conversations that go on with my girlfriends and I. And I think like when you surround yourself with like good people, it makes you want to be better, And
you're in Miami, right? So like that's also super refreshing. I've been to Miami a couple of times. I always feel like Miami is kind of where you go, you have fun, you party, you lay poolside. So like this is kind of the different angle too. Of it's like you're having your fun. I'm sure you're enjoying all the splendors of what Miami could be, but it also sounds like
the best.
Hey, of course, but you're balancing that out too. It sounds like with like really creative, ambitious, driven people too. You're having your cake, and you're also making sure that you're surrounding yourself with intellectuals.
Oh, for sure. I mean, exactly. And I have to say Miami right now I would have to say it's the most relevant city now, I think globally, because everyone interesting is moving here. I mean, I was in New York City for many, many years, and in Connecticut, and now I decided to move back to Miami. I grew up down here. But Miami's a different place now. It's not a party town. It is, there's so many intelligent people here. It's pretty amazing. Jeff Bezos lives like around the corner from me. No, I'm not in his neighborhood, but he does live like 5 minutes from me. Brady, Giselle, they're all here. Shakira. No, but there's also, Ken Griffin, all these, hedge fund guys and private equity. They're all here. It's amazing. So, you go out to dinner and you see really interesting people out. Parties. There's always someone interesting. I just went to an event last night at the Bell Harbor Shops, and which is right around the corner from me. And my girlfriend runs the Veronica Beard store there, and I've done I did a trunk show with them a few months ago, and went really great with my line, and they had a showing, and they're doing personal shopping. Anyway, I was like, I don't sell to any stores here in Bell Harbor. So the girl was like, oh my God, I'll introduce you. Because there's a children's clothing line that carries like very, very high-end designers. And so she's like, oh, I'll set it up. You can, for a meeting with you and her. So, that's great. So, but it's always, women helping women, it's so, yeah. But Miami people are doing things here. A lot's happening. It's not the same Miami that it used to be.
I want to be neighbors with Shakira. Like that.
Well, I'm not neighbors, but they do live.
It's all relative. Even if within a 50-mile radius, we're going to say neighbors.
I know.
We're manifesting. I
know. Actually, this restaurant that we went to last night, I went one night, and then the next night they said Shakira was there and Giselle separately. Like, I'm like, oh, I miss them.
Kind of leave little Jack and Jewelz little jewelry boxes, little promotion, right? Like that's the type of stuff that
actually. And Tom Brady just took like 8,000 square feet of office space, like right downstairs from where I live.
Jackie, stay in Miami. We're all moving to Miami. Serena, get your bags packed.
Yeah, they're packed.
I love Miami. There's nowhere else I'd rather live right now. We'll see what happens in 10 years, but I love it here.
Jackie, you've sold us. Like, say less, okay? I thought I was very content in Madrid, but now I'm like, wait, is there a direct flight? Iberia.com. I'm going to do it. Serena, I'll with the layover. Just come.
Stop off at Heathrow. We'll go together.
Oh, yeah. Correct. That's exactly.
Yeah, actually, it's the greatest thing because I'll be working away and then when you just like need to clear your head, I'll go for a beach walk in the afternoon.
Oh,
it is
the dream.
It's a dream. It really is. So, I've been here now a year and I will never look back. And you know what? I was worried about moving here for business. If I was taking like a step back, if how it was going to like affect me running my business, but it really hasn't. It's grown. It's good. It's good.
Your business was a COVID baby, so it was. How can it go wrong? Yeah. Just moving.
Yeah, production and all that stuff. Things. It's there's always like a little bit of growing pains if you make a change, but with change, there's growth.
That is so true. What would you, for our future guests, let me ask you this. I've asked you the question Serena had posed last week. What would you ask whoever the next guest is, woman in charge? What would you ask? Everything's on the table. It doesn't just need to be that. Whatever's top of mind, what would you ask?
Well, I always like to just get to the nitty gritty of, when I meet someone really successful and accomplished, I say like, how did this happen? Like, how did you get to this level? And I just want to know the why and the how behind it. Because it's just so inspiring to hear like people that have like built a big career, and like how it all happened, I'd like to know everything. Yeah. So I listen to a great podcast I listen to religiously. Do you guys listen to Guy Raz, How I Built This?
Yes. I love How I Built This.
Love that. So I just want to know, how'd you build it? What happened?
How'd you build it? Yes, exactly. I love your question because it's like a question like that opens up conversation, right? Because no one can just be like, well, I just did.
It's like our whole podcast.
Right.
Taking our questions.
Yeah, actually, that's okay. Wait. I was going to say,
we're nosy. We want to know too.
You know what? Also, he has now like a side podcast that he answers questions to people's, to small business difficulties, their challenges, which we all have, supply chain issues, headaches. Yeah. You talk to people at all levels and they have supply chain issues, and different, hurdles they're trying to get over. And he has very smart people on there that they answer their questions. And it's like an aha moment for me too. Listening, you learn so much from hearing other people's stories. So I'll go on my beach walks and I'll listen to this. And I'm just like getting free business advice.
So I love this. Can I just, I want to ask another question. So I know that we're coming up on the hour, but I want to know, who do you go to for help? Who's your go-to?
Oh, my father. He's my sounding board. He's great. The phone doesn't get one full ring when I call him. And he's talked me through so many bad situations, but he always kind of is like, all right, you deal with it. Like, these are my, this is what I think. And like, he doesn't solve my problems for me, but he gives me really sound advice. And then he'll say all the time, and I tell this to my daughter, since I was 10, he would say, learn from my mistakes. And as a kid, as a young business, you still make your own mistakes, obviously, but like, you try to learn from others and not replicate that,
I love that.
I say that to my daughter all the time. Learn from my mistakes, like with, different, challenges. She's in middle school. I'll say, don't do that.
But that means you have to be real in front of them. You can't be this shiny figure that doesn't get anything wrong. You have to be authentic. You have to be real. They have to see you fail and they have to see you get back up. And I love that.
That's true. Actually, a girlfriend of mine, she does not lie to her kids about anything. And, she doesn't sugarcoat things. And it's we were in front of our girls the other day and they were asking us questions, and my friend will not lie to her kids. And, my daughter, I was put on the spot about something and I told the truth. I would want my daughter to think a different, another way. But yeah, and you know what? You're right. They should see the nitty gritty and that you've made mistakes and all of that. Parenting's tough.
Sure is.
It sounds so like that's unconditional love. Who you are, the mistakes you made. I mean, think about it. Your dad's saying, "Hey, don't make mistakes I've made," as opposed to I haven't made any mistakes. But that's, to Serena's point, the realness of it. I can love you more because I see you for who you are, not who you think I should see you as, for just your true self. And that's in any capacity, right? I mean, we're family, but I think especially in business too, when you get something wrong, having a retailer or having a manufacturer say, "We screwed up. My bad. That was a mistake," versus pointing the finger, "We could never do that." I feel that starts to snowball, as opposed to "We forgot that shipment. Oh, we forgot that discount. Oh, bad product. We'll take it back." It's the admitting the mistakes and then using it as a lesson versus "I'm perfect."
People have to make mistakes to learn and grow. That's what the fearless part is. It's about jumping in and
you just think they're unexpensive ones.
That's true. Deal with the cheap mistakes, not the big ones that are. Yeah, Serena, you're laughing a little hard at that. I feel like you might have. Feel like that's tough.
But that's just it. If you're always progressing, they're only ever going to be little. Yep, that's a good thing.
That is.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you learn to make that they're smaller, along the line, along the way.
And the hard part is admitting that it's a mistake and moving around it, and not just trying to soldier on through and throw more and more energy at it, when that's not necessarily going to be the greatest outcome. Wow.
Exactly. I think having a good sounding board, someone you can go to, when you have questions about, contracts or, different moves you're making, to someone to bounce ideas off of. But inevitably, if you're an entrepreneur, it's on you. There's no it's his fault. It falls on your own shoulders. So I think when you have a business, you have to be very accountable. And I go back to not having an ego, because it's all of it, taking constructive criticism and if something's not working, you got to change it, and learning when to cut the cord on things. Not having an ego in things is so important, because I feel like people's egos get in the way of greatness.
Before we head out, tell us where can we find Jack and Jewelz? You've built this business, you're getting it out there, you're going to the trade shows. Where can listeners find it?
Well, I have a website, jackandjewelz.com. It's Jack and Jewelz with a Z, and all my stuff is online, and then it's in stores nationwide. So it should be, in your local toy store, gift store. I have a list, I think, listed. But yeah, go to my website.
Love that. Jackie, you have been, like I've said in the beginning, I've talked to you before, and I've always, whenever we talk, I'm like, okay, it's just a quick question I have. And then it's a 2-hour call, because I just find that your enthusiasm, your confidence, your story is always very engaging. So thank you for sharing it with Serena and I. I think there's a lot of lessons you've learned along the way, a lot of authenticity that you brought to the table. Thank you. It was wonderful chatting.
Oh, thanks, guys. This was fun. And I wish you luck with your venture.
Thank you.